According to Amnesty International, hundreds of oil spills occur in Nigeria every year, causing significant harm to the environment, destroying local livelihoods and placing human health at serious risk. The National Oil Spills Detection and Response Agency has a statutory responsibility to monitor oil spill and the remediation process. But that agency is reporting over 1,300 oil spills between 2018 and 2019. My guest talks about how the spill can be addressed. Hello there, welcome to Dateline Abuja. I'm Ibrahim Adra. Flood and erosion are some of the challenges residents of Dawaki, Lokogoma and Dutse in the nation's capital are battling. Residents are asking the relevant authorities to come to their aid before the situation turns for the worse.
The rains are here, and that means heavy rainfall may result in flooding, which could weaken or wash out the soil, leading to erosion in some parts of the Federal Capital Territory. Dawaki, a community in Buhari Area Council in the nation's capital, is one of the communities facing the threat of erosion. Residents here have been living with the situation for the past 12 years. The devastation is threatening the only school in the area and eating up the road which links Buhari town, the headquarters of the area council. This refuse dump is blocking some parts of the waterway and it's constituting a nuisance. Armed with placards, residents are asking the relevant authorities to do something about the situation.
The gully erosion is threatening our life, it's threatening our community. As a resident, our resources cannot carry it anymore. Years by years, we have been contributing to maintain the environment. But due to what is on ground in the nation today, this year we cannot contribute. We are begging the government to come to our help. Some years ago we are here, we cried to government, precisely 2008. They came with bulldozer and only do some issues and they left. Later staplers come and start destroying the road. What we are facing today is still part of the effort of taking water, pipe, from Usman down to town. This road leads to Buhari Area Council. It leads to Kaduna Strait. They should walk on this road. Yes. They should do the drainage of this road. Yes. They should control the erosion. Yes. So that we can be in peace. We can sleep. See our school too. Our school has become threat to the life of our children. Of our children. The student there, the parent doesn't have peace of sending their student again to this school.
Sometime last year or 2 years ago, we heard that a child died in that gully there, around the reservoir there. So it has claimed lives. And we don't want it to claim more lives because if we have heavy downpour this year, all properties along these waterways definitely will fall, they will be demolished, and it can affect lives and properties too. This is an ecological problem, and we have been facing it for over 10 years now. We have been calling to government, and if you can see, there's a threat to many properties here in the community.
This road runs straight to Dutse. It's a very busy road. And when this erosion comes, the last 2 years it broke, this road broke. And pipes from Usman Danfodio Dam were laid bare, which was very scary because it carries the current of water there. If it breaks, you know, we hear it could flush the whole Dawaki. So it was very scary. They just came and covered it. And we're happy because we thought they had come to do the road. But they still left the road like that. And it kept getting worse. Last year, this whole place flooded, the houses flooded. Somebody ran to me and said they woke up and they saw water in their rooms. That's how people die. You know, somebody used his phone to film it and came and showed me that they just woke up and saw they were soaked. Their houses were in water. This gully here, a child had died there. This is a school. I wonder how people, each time I pass there, I wonder how people with children, the kind of fear that will become there. Are a lot of kids around here. And then it's a big threat. We want government, we are Nigerians now. We are not cut off from other Nigerians. If there's anything we are owing government, they should tell us. If we're really Nigerians, they should come to our aid. They come here and just touch the sand, dig more holes. These things are caused by people laying pipe by pipe. They come and lay their pipe and they don't cover it and it begins to expand. The year we came in here, this thing wasn't like this. It was like this, I would have been too scared to come to this area. It was not like this. Like joke, it kept expanding. So many people are already homeless because of this. Houses were demolished there. They came and demolished the houses that there were not this and that and that. Then do your own. Are we not Nigerians? If we're not, they should tell us. If we're not in Abuja, they should tell us. If we're owing anything, they should tell us. If we owe government any small thing, they come and threaten and make sure they collect it. But why wouldn't they come and deal with our own issues too? We need them to help us. It's scary. When rain falls, this whole place is covered. You need to come here. Sometimes these small boys will be carrying people. Cars will get stuck.
In Duse, some residents are facing a similar situation, further worsened by this road construction. The erosion has washed up the culverts that should control the flow of the flood, while some of the culverts have been blocked by sand. The rains have only just begun, and residents of this compound are already lamenting the impact of the situation.
The erosion has blocked everywhere because of the sand that they packed here. They didn't arrange it the way it's supposed to be. Normally, the gutter that was there before was, the flood was moving perfectly, not complaining. But unfortunately, when they came to fix the roads, they didn't do it properly the way it's supposed to be. They have the block where the erosion have to pass through. So the erosion now have no place than to pack the whole sand, and even the house is flooding. You can see this house is sinking down. Right now, I can't move my car. I can't bring out my car. I cannot even carry my car inside because the place has been next up. Do you understand me? The place is damaged. You can see. So there's no way. Even to walk inside the house is very difficult for us to go inside the house and come out. Because this place was normally, it was okay. The water here before was very, very nice. Do you understand me? So the water, when rain fall, it will just move on its own because they made a way for it. Definitely this house is going down. You understand? This is the first example of the rain. If another rain should fall, I don't know what will happen.
The threat we are facing is this passage and my passage, because the next tournament of rainfall, I don't know how it's going to be to enter my house because it remains small for the erosion to enter my room. So I don't know how it's going to look like for the next rain that is going to fall. So you can see the frontage. They use interlocks. It was very okay before they started this work. We have drainage, big gutter that passes at everything. We didn't have problem until they started this work. And when they started this work, they left us. There was no way for us to pass in or not. We have to be passing somewhere else, looking for a way to put leg because of the sand they heap here.
The Director General of the FCT Emergency Management Agency explains that the Federal Capital Territory is working with the Ecological Fund Office to address the erosion challenges in the nation's capital.
The Dawaki and even other parts of the FCT that had issues regarding the erosion, that has been, the FCDA is addressing that issue. It is something that has to do with ecological matter, and that the Honorable Minister has personally took it up with the Ecological Office at the office of the SGF, and a lot has been going on about it. And I'm pretty sure that the FCDA are addressing that matter.
Another challenge confronting some residents in the nation's capital is flood. Already one death has been recorded in Lokogoma district and another in Karu suburb. Mr. Idris explains that steps are being taken to curb flooding disasters in the FCT.
We have identified those areas that we had problem last year, and then additional areas that we are foreseeing that if nothing is being done, with the forecast we received from NIMET and the flood outlook released recently by NISA, is going to be a serious problem. And all hands have been on deck. You can see development control is busy removing all those structures that block the waterways. And unfortunately, on 22nd, that was Monday, at about 1 a.m., we received a distress call. That's one motorist ran into a running water, and the water took them away. And so we were able to, with the assistance of the police on patrol, to at least rescue one person. That's the passenger. And the other person, the driver, was taken away, and we found his body later and was confirmed fatally injured. Again, on the same day, there was also another distress call from Karu. And the same episode, a motorist again, and they were taken away by the water. So that one, we are still searching for the body. We could not get it.
The FCT Emergency Management Agency is urging residents not to drive into flash floods, as it is capable of being fatal.
Thanks for staying tuned. Now, did you know that the seriousness of COVID-19 in patients depend on many factors? For example, some who test positive may be asymptomatic and can still spread the disease. So protect yourself by taking responsibility and always use a face mask in public places. Now let's recap stories that made the headline within the week in the nation's capital. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the extension of the second phase of ease lockdown by another 4 weeks, effective Tuesday, June the 30th through Monday, July 27th. The chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Mr. Boss Mustafa, announced the extension of the daily news briefing of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. The extension has some modifications to the ease of lockdown protocols, allowing interstate travel outside the curfew hours, while students taking their final examinations can resume schools. Earlier, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 briefed the President on the status of the fight against the pandemic in the country. Part of their submission is that 18 local government areas in Nigeria account for 60% of COVID-19 cases, and those local government areas have to be locked down to contain the spread of the pandemic in the country. In the meantime, President Buhari has asked members of the Presidential Economic Advisory Council to do more to help the country exit its very terrible state of development. The President made this call during a virtual meeting of the Council. Also, the President has flagged off the construction of the Ajaokuta-Kaduna-Kano gas pipeline. Delivering his speech virtually from the presidential villa, the President called for a petrochemical hub aimed at creating opportunities for Nigerians. President Muhammadu Buhari presided over this week's virtual Federal Executive Council meeting, with several ministers in attendance. A total of 6 memos were considered, while the Minister of Information and the Minister of Justice gave their scorecard for the past year and plans for the years ahead. The leadership of the National Assembly had separate meetings with President Muhammadu Buhari and the Vice President Professor Emil Shibajo over the planned hike in electricity tariff. After the meetings, the Senate President, Senator Ahmed Lawan, says the presidency is on board with the decision of the National Assembly to hold the National Electricity Regulatory Commission's plan to high electricity tariff. President Muhammadu Buhari has sworn into office 45 commissioners and the chairman into the board of some federal agencies, including the Federal Character Commission, the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission, and the Federal Civil Service Commission. And the federal government is targeting ambitious receipts of 1 trillion naira annually from stamp duties. Speaking at the inauguration of a task force committee on the recovery of stamp duties, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, says the revenue generated from stamp duties is to cushion the over 5 trillion naira deficit in the nation's budget of 2020, as well as mitigate the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the economy. My guest is the Director General of the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency, Mr. Idris Musa. He talks about the rising cases of oil spill in the country.
It's good to have you on Dateline Abuja.
Thank you very much. It's nice having me here.
Same here. Now, the Journal of Health and Pollution has stated that between that more than 12,000 oil spills have occurred in the Niger Delta region between 1976 and 2014. Now, Nostra, your organization, has also come out to say that between 2018 and 2019, over 1,300 oil spills have occurred in the Niger Delta region. So the question is, why do we have this high frequency of oil spills in the Niger Delta region?
It's very embarrassing that we have such statistics in Nigeria. And I made bold to say that such statistics can only happen here. We will rarely not find such statistics elsewhere among the oil-producing nations.
Why?
And the reason is not far-fetched. One, the oil spill that we have here are not the accidental oil spill that is supposed to be. Under the accidental oil spill, we are supposed to have what we call low probability of oil spilling, but whenever it spills, high consequence. In our own case, it is medium to high probability with high consequences. And how does it happen? Look at the statistics of the number that you have quoted, especially as from year 2, the high figure will be sometime from 2007 precisely to date, that high figure. And what is accountable for it? Reckless and vandalism of oil facilities. Reckless and vandalism of oil facilities. In all, when you look at individual oil companies, oil spill reports, you find some have up to 80% third-party interference. In other words, people who go to their facilities, either flow lines or trunk lines or bulk lines, to siphon crude. Then the remainder, but if you put everything on an average, all the oil companies put together, the average is about 70% vandalism. Then equipment failure, as well as human error in the course of maintenance, will now account for the remaining 30%. The statistics are there. It is not exaggeration. It's not sentiment. The statistics are there. And why does it happen? It's because of what I call lack of patriotism among some of our people. Because if you are patriotic, you know that this is the mainstay of our economy for now is the oil. And the facilities that are there belongs to you as Nigerians as well as the oil companies.
This brings me to the next question. When we're talking about vandalism, we know there are private and even government security agencies, manning these pipelines, manning these facilities. So the question is, how do vandals still have access to these facilities?
That is the irony of the whole thing. If you look at what happened in Abule side the other day, if you look at what happened in Ijegun, where the one that burnt so many houses in Abule the other time, where it happened, you won't believe that it's just a shout distance. I wouldn't say a stone throw, because depending on your strength, the stone you throw can go as far as 50, 100 meters, but shout distance. You call somebody, he answers. Was where the surveillance team put their shed. They were there, and there's only one entry into that point where this bunkering was done, and they couldn't just find it. Maybe those people turn to ghost when they want to go there, but even if the human beings turn to ghost, what about the tankers? Can tankers also turn to ghost? It's not possible. So something drastic still has to be done if we really want to leave this thing in the bud. And the earlier, the better.
You said earlier that it appears that there isn't enough will by all the players to stop this from happening. Could you expatiate on this?
The lack of will is this. We have had an occasion in the past where we had a meeting somewhere, I wouldn't like to mention where, and in fact 2 meetings. The first meeting, somebody had a technology that can really take a look at the oil facilities and provide instant notification should anybody go near it. And when we were all called, all the stakeholders, the regulators were there, DPR was there, NSCDC, all the oil companies, NNPC, PPMC, as then were there, we were all there. And by the time the gentleman made his presentation, the coordinator of that meeting did say, how many, do we understand what he said? Everybody, of course, understood. And the question is, has this man gone to any of us? The man had really, or the company, let me not say the man, the company had gone around, all of these stakeholders gathered, and nobody took advantage of it, particularly the asset owners. They didn't take advantage of it. And I remember that the coordinator of that meeting did say, the facility owners should go and do a pilot or whatever he has and come back so that they can now make up a good policy towards that. Except that will be done tomorrow. And that's why we keep having this. The other one, we were at another forum whereby a group of people who specialize in stealing the oil or even formed themselves into an association, and they were so bold and they did say, yes, we do it because we believe that is the only way they can get their own attention and their own livelihood. But they offered to stop if certain conditions are met. Again, you look at it, it's very laughable. Have you seen where criminals give or thieves give conditions to the owner of an asset?
I'm curious to know what these conditions are.
Well, that the conditions are meant that they must legalize what they are doing, and then they must put certain things in place for them to now say, okay, no more, and indeed they may probably have to join in the rise against it. But again, it looks laughable, but again, maybe if you look at it properly, you may have to do some jiggling and see which ones you can pick and which ones you cannot pick. But the point is, as a nation, we just need to do something about it.
As Nostra, because we know technology can actually deal with these issues. Technology to, can determine when somebody's about to comes near the facilities of where the vicinity of pipelines, and even technology to even say when this vandalization is going on. Has Nostra suggested this to the federal government for Nigeria to begin to look in that direction?
You see, when you say has Nostra suggested, if I say we have suggested 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, it's an understatement. We have written, even last week, I got a call. I got a call from one of the soft media, I will put it, soft medium, which said that before another something happened. I read through it, and indeed, I saw fact in what was being written. What did I do? I put pen on paper and forwarded to the appropriate organ to take a look at this, and I suggested perhaps we can use this one to step up, to have a meeting again and go through all of these processes that people who have the goodwill of Nigeria in their heart are bringing forward every day on how to provide solution. We just have to provide the solution, and it's not far-fetched. It is not rocket science. It's there. You just look at it, pick it, and then the few that now go contrary to whatever is put in place, you punish them.
Now, thank you for staying with us. We will bring you the concluding part of that interview in the next episode of the program. In the meantime, please follow guidelines while at places of worship. Wash or sanitize hands before entering. Leave 2 meters between yourself and the next person. So, let's continue the conversations online through the email address and Twitter handle on your screen. Also, be sure to share anything happening within your locality with us. I'd like to also remind you that you can view the program on youtube.com/channelsweb/videos. I'm Ibrahim Adra. Please stay safe.